All right, y'all, we back with another video podcast, whatever you want to call it. And today I'm going to talk about Mike. I'm not talking about something necessarily positive, but I'm also going to be talking about something that we could possibly see, coming into the football season. And it's all started because I went back and I looked at some of his game logs from when he was at Washington, and I want to pick out those games where he struggled and see, okay, what did the defense do that caused him to struggle? And what I got from it is, I want to share it with y'all so, y'all can know what to expect in the season, because I can almost guarantee you NFL defenses and NFL coordinators will see this and will almost definitely bring it out. But before we get into the video, if you guys do enjoy this, be sure to like and subscribe for more. I will be uploading more Falcons content in the future. When preseason starts, we will be over analyzing that defense. And then when the season starts, I got some really good stuff coming for y'all. But without further ado, let's go on and get into the video. So when you really dig into Michael Penix Jr.'s college film, especially in those final 2 seasons at Washington, you start to notice a pattern. And it's not just about the throws he made or the stats he put up. It's about how defenses responded to him, how they adapted over time, how they shifted their approach based on, what he was doing to them. And most importantly, it was about what slowed him down, not stopped, because let's be clear, Michael Penix Jr. is still torching teams even when they got creative. But if you're trying to project, what the NFL transition will look like in his first full season of starting, because those 3 games were promising, but, still pretty much a rookie in his rookie season. You have to study the defenses that gave him problems, because that's the blueprint that NFL coaches are going to borrow from. So let's start with the baseline. What Mike did so well, what made him one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in college football, was the rhythm, the timing, the anticipation. He operated a pro-style passing system at Washington, not in a West Coast sense, but in terms of structure. Vertical spacing, layered concepts, high-level route integration, and also a very good screen game that kind of, it resembled ours a little bit, but it actually worked. And he was elite at playing on time within that structure. And if you ran zone against him and didn't generate pressure, 2024 Falcons, it was over. He'd pick you apart with anticipation throws to the boundary, the deep overs, the sideline curls. It really didn't matter. He saw the whole field. He has excellent field vision, or what I call field mapping. He trusted what he saw and he let it rip. But that version of Mike, the one who played like a machine, had a very specific requirement, and that was clarity. He had to know what he was looking at pre-snap, when the coverage was honest and the protection was sound. He'd play in rhythm and almost never missed. So if you're a defensive coordinator and you want to throw him off, the formula becomes pretty simple. Take that clarity away. Now, clarity doesn't mean just by rotating the safeties late, although that was part of it. The teams that really bothered Mike post-snap were the ones that disguised their intentions and manipulated protection. It reminds me of what Ray Lewis said about Peyton Manning, is that we did not get into what we were trying to do until the very last second, because everything he did, from about 40 seconds to about 20 seconds, it didn't matter. He was just up there talking. But once he got down to 15 to 10 seconds, all right, we can jump into what we want to do, because he ain't got time to change the play. But back on topic, those simulated pressures, the creepers, the overloads with the drop 8 behind them, that was the game plan. You weren't trying to confuse him in a way that, you would a raw quarterback. You were trying to delay his rhythm, make him second guess what he saw, slow down his process just a tick, and force him to either reset his base or speed him up into an off-platform throw. And when Penix was forced off script, he became human again. And I'm not saying Penix cannot play off script, because he absolutely can, but his calling card is sitting in that pocket and being surgical. And Michigan probably gave you the clean example of that, where they were able to push the pocket without blitzing, keep that integrity in coverage, and closing those passing windows. And even when they did blitz, it was a lot of chaos up front. You saw a lot of stunts, a lot of loops, a lot of overload pressures that it was just like, dog, what is going on? What is this defense playing so crazy? They closed those throwing lanes he usually hits in rhythm and made him hesitate. Once that happened, it bled into the mechanics. His base would get a little too wide, the feet would stop tying to the read, he started aiming throws rather than driving them. And again, that's not a shot at him, that's just what happens to every quarterback when they've been taken off script. Arizona State did it in a different way. They didn't win with overwhelming talent, they just won with chaos. They showed pressure, they rotated late, bailed out of those looks after the snap, and they threw a lot of junk at him that forced him to sit in that pocket and read it out. And by the time it happened, the pressure was in his face or he was off rhythm. And you could tell Penix didn't trust that picture all the time. Not that he was just seeing ghosts, but he couldn't anticipate the windows the way he usually did. He had to react post-snap instead of triggering pre-snap, and because Washington offense was so time-based, that 1 second delay broke the rhythm more times than not. Now, does this mean Penix can't play when things go off schedule? No. As I said before, he's shown he can roll out and find, the second read or throw off platform with that velocity. But that's not his core strength. He's not a Caleb Williams. He just can't just sit up there and, I'm going to make an all-platform throw 30 yards down the field. You can't do nothing about it. No, that's not him to that regard. He wants to win from the pocket with structure, and there's nothing wrong with that. All the great quarterbacks do that. But it does mean your offense had to support him in ways that let him play to his strength. So let's zoom out. What does that tell us about year one or full season starting year one in Atlanta? First, that means Zach Robinson's offense has to be tailored towards giving Michael Penix Jr. that rhythm that he needs. Give him those rhythm throws early and often, those clear progression reads, define leverage indicators, play action. Please run more play action, please. Because even when we did have him, we didn't run it at nearly the rate we should have. Play action that holds that defender just long enough to give him those windows, because if you let him get into that rhythm, he will look like a 10-year vet. His arm talent is special. Everybody sees that. The ability to throw to the opposite hash with pace and anticipation is already NFL tier. It's all about, whether the picture is clean enough for him to operate in that rhythm. And second, it means that protection rules need to be airtight. One of the biggest mistakes you can make with a young quarterback is putting him behind a line that can't sort out simulated pressures or pick up stunts. And Penix isn't going to bail early, which is also a strength, but it could also mean that he'll hold, the ball to let a concept develop. So you better keep him clean or you risk throwing him out of rhythm entirely. And that goes beyond just the offensive line. Your backs and your tight ends have to be on the same page. They need to ID the threats the same way that he does. Because Michael Penix Jr., he can ID those threats. We saw it against Washington where he's making, a declaration at the line. Hey, watch out for him. He's coming. Then, even get back to the line, set up and throw and get an explosive playoff for that. Third, and maybe the most important, is where you need the weapons who can win fast. Guys who can separate early or punish the defense for playing man behind pressure. And that's where this ties into Kyle a little bit, because we saw what he looked like day one. And I know it's an overreaction, but if we get a day one training camp Kyle Pitts for the entire season, oh my Lord, it's going to be fun to watch. If defenses come after Penix the way they did in college with the tight man or the disguised pressure, having that mismatch like Kyle who can uncover quickly and become a hot read target when, that becomes invaluable, right? Pitts might not have been the dominant, guy that we know or that we saw flashes of, right? But if you look at his first 8 weeks, a lot of people fought me on this, but if you look at those first 8 weeks, they were up and down a little bit, but that stretch from about week 4 to about week 8 or 9, he was on a 1,000-yard pace. Like, nobody's talking about that because they were just so focused on the negative about Kyle. They didn't want to focus on the positive, right? But even then, we don't have to necessarily rely on Kyle because we have Drake London, we have a Darnell Mooney, we have a Bijan Robinson, we have a Tyler Algier. We have guys in place that'll help him make his job easier. But the structure under Zach Robinson might be the best thing that has happened to his career, because we see Kyle, and now he's in the second year with the same coordinator, with the same quarterback. His whole energy is different. And he might be the number 4 pick that we took, that we saw in his rookie year. And so honestly, what we're looking at is a quarterback who's already ready to take that next step, but his success early is going to be dependent on entirely how well that coaching staff and the system protects his strengths. The arm is there, the intelligence is there, the anticipation is elite. When he trusts that look, the floor is high. There isn't a development of quarterback. That doesn't mean he's pressure proof. And that's what's going to make, 2025 fascinating, because he's taking over a team with legit weapons. The offensive identity is still the same from last year, a lot of carryover, and the staff that really believes in him and is building that structure for him. If they do it right, if they can protect him the right way, give him that clarity, and let him be a rhythm passer, there's no reason he won't succeed and put up those numbers y'all say he can put up, even though I've been saying for the longest, he doesn't have to necessarily blow up the league, but he has to be manageable, right? Just in his first year, that's it. That's all I'm asking. But if they drop him back and go full spread against exotic NFL defenses, that's going to be asking for trouble. So when we talk about Michael Penix Jr. going into the 2025 season, we're not just talking about traits. We're talking about the timing, the structure, the support, He's a quarterback who can absolutely succeed, but he needs that machine around him to be running smooth, because when the rhythm is there, when the picture is clean, when the read is defined, Michael Penix Jr. does not miss. But I just want to share that with y'all guys. If you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to like and subscribe for more. I will be uploading more stuff like this in the future. Like I said, be on the lookout for preseason and regular season content, because that will be coming at you in waves. But I'll see you guys in our next video. Goodbye.